The Prime Minister of New Zealand has made a formal apology to thousands of victims and families of young people who suffered abuse in state and faith-based institutions, such as children's homes and psychiatric hospitals, over the past 70 years. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon told survivors in Parliament that the mistreatment of some 200,000 children and vulnerable adults was heartbreaking and should never have happened. Let's hear what he had to say.
Today I'm apologising on behalf of the government to everyone who suffered abuse, harm and neglect while in state care. Today make this apology to all survivors on behalf of my own and previous governments. You deserved so much better, and I am deeply sorry that New Zealand did not do better by you. I am sorry that you were not believed when you came forward to report your abuse. I am sorry that many bystanders, staff, volunteers and carers turned a blind eye and failed to stop or report abuse.
Christopher Luxon speaking there. Now, our correspondent Phil Mercer has been following the story.
This apology by the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon, was one of the recommendations of a far-reaching royal commission. Now, this commission of inquiry was New Zealand's longest, largest and most complex public investigation ever held, and it uncovered a litany of abuse in institutions run by the state, religious organisations and churches dating from 1950 to 2019. That report was released earlier this year and estimated that more than 200,000 children and vulnerable adults were abused physically or sexually in care during those dates. So today we've heard from New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, and he said that the abuse perpetrated in his country over that time in those institutions was both horrific and heartbreaking.
I understand. And what more, how are they going to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Was there anything indicated in that front?
The Royal Commission made more than 130 recommendations. One of them was a public apology by the government. We've also had apologies today by several heads of government departments. And the government in New Zealand is saying that it's working on around 28 of the recommendations as it works through that very long list, and that an update will be provided in the new year. But for many victims and their families, progress towards redress and compensation has been far too slow. So New Zealand's government is insisting that this will never happen again. And today, in many ways, is about looking over a deeply shameful part of New Zealand's history. The Prime Minister, Mr Luxon, said that no apology could ever erase the pain or the injustice of the past, but he says that his government is determined to make sure that the darkness of the past will never be repeated in the future.
Phil Mercer there. Now, Tupuai Ehrlich is one of those who experienced abuse. He went through the New Zealand state care system from 2000 to 2011, moving from home to home and facing physical abuse from the age of 5. He told me more about his experiences.
Looking back as a young person, it's really hard to put words to the feelings, and I think that that's one of those natural responses to trauma, is that you learn to emotionally cut yourself off. The effects of that trauma came through later on in life, and that looks like, it's not just the physical abuse, it was the disconnection from my family, from my culture, and trying to navigate the world with, all this trauma behind you. It's absolutely, it's heartbreaking, and the worst part about it is that it's still happening today. People talk about the Royal Commission and they're talking about abuse as if it's a historic thing. It's absolutely not. It's still very much present in the state care and protection system to this day.
You mentioned that disconnection from your culture, your Māori. I understand one caregiver insisted that he didn't call you by your Māori name, calling you Michael instead. What does it mean when you you said as well that there was a racist system and it makes you view yourself differently. Can you explain what that's like?
Yeah, well, I mean, Māori have been disproportionately affected by by our state care protection and justice system since they came here. They've acted as another arm of colonisation and assimilation. When the only time that we see our culture is reflected in negative statistics, or society that we grow up in sees us in a negative light, it's extremely hard, because when you look at our culture and us as a people, we're all about family and community, and trying to rebuild those connections as an adult, you face things like that alienation. You feel like you don't belong there, and it's really we really struggle to rebuild those connections and live as we have a right to do, which is by our culture and in our ways.
What is the feeling about this apology? Does it feel like you have received some sense of justice, or does it feel too little too late?
Oh, yeah, look, I'm 29 years old. I'm the eldest surviving member on my father's line of family. Suicides, murders have wiped them out. They all grew up in boys' homes. So today was not about justice. It was about acknowledgement that the Crown, the government here, were responsible for the trauma that my family suffered through. So today was about being there to hear what they unfortunately never got the chance to hear. Justice? No, not yet. These words are nothing unless they're followed by action, and the right kind of action that is informed by survivors. The government have proven that alone they are not trusted nor capable of providing the sort of change and service that we need.